On this week's show, we're discussing the PlayStation's upcoming 30th anniversary celebrations, the Nintendo Switch 2 leaks and accessories, positive reviews for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and much, much more. But before we get into all that, we don't have video this week, so check out this special intro. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we get together and round up all the weekly video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV, and also available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. We've got a great show for you this week, and your podcast players are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue, and my man of many pixels, at RichieC89, returning once again. And it's a very special show because we don't have video for the opening 30 minutes or so, folks. So, surprise, after 5 years, you're going to get a static image for the next half an hour or so. We didn't record, or it didn't record, or OBS did something. So, technical difficulties aside, the show is here in its entirety in audio form. We'll kick back in with trailers and stuff later into it. But thank you for sticking with us. Check out the rest of the episode. We've got a great show lined up for you all, but before we get into all that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, like our retro looks back, and more importantly, our 5th year anniversary stream that is coming up next week, Richie. We've been talking about it for quite some time. We're nearly there. 5 years of content coming to you live every single week, consistently. This is technically episode number 429 of our podcast making career.
Never missed a week of the podcast since we started.
In half a decade. That is quite impressive for essentially what is a two-man crew with special guests from time to time.
Who also have full-time jobs and families and stuff.
and other responsibilities and such as well. But yes, we're celebrating 5 years as our yearly Gamer Guild celebration kicks off this Saturday, 28th of September. We've got this podcast live, so if you've always wanted to get involved a little bit more, get into the chat. We'll be reacting, responding, answering questions as the show goes on. React with the news with us and talk it all out. We'll be also doing a multiplayer live stream. We'll be playing Gears of War 2 as part of our full playthrough experience. We'll be getting together to rank every console in the world and where we see it fits on the ranking tier system. And we'll be doing some multiplayer with you fine folks out there as well, plus a nice Q&A to round out the stream at the end of the night, probably with some cheeky beers and usually some food along the way. Obviously you can get food, we won't stop you from doing that. Do what you want, but we do hope that you do join in and enjoy the day with us, because we're looking forward to it. As a quick note, this show goes live on Monday. The sale will be up, so if you're interested in getting yourself some GamerGuildTV swag, or maybe some retro classic Sounds of Stadia swag, or everything in between, there is currently a 20% off sale of everything to celebrate our 5 years. So 20% off. If you want to go grab yourself a hoodie heading into the winter, get yourself a bandana because you think you look cool in one, or maybe treat yourself to some sexy shorts because you're one of those weird people who wear shorts all year round regardless of the weather.
You know, I think there's some swimming shorts in the store as well, so you might as well get prepped for next summer.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple of new things that got added the last couple of weeks, some new products, some new designs. I think I mentioned it last week, but if you're a big Stadia fan and you love that Stadia controller, there's a new version of that out with the logo up there for you to watch. And of course, we'll be back regularly scheduled programming later this week as Richie, you're diving into...
Oh, yes. I was going to... words. On my podcast, I need to use words. The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom.
That's right. That's the brand new one, of course.
Assuming Amazon deliver it in time.
Well, you could always pop down to Argos like I did the other week. But yes, in the meantime, though, welcome everyone. Don't forget, comment, help out the algorithm. Tell us, in fact, how good Richie's beard's looking this week.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's starting to blend. You're getting a good blend, top and bottom.
Yeah, I'm quite grey. There's the thing for our audience. How much more grey am I now than episode 1?
Oh,
you have no idea because episode 1 wasn't filmed; it was audio only.
That's right. It's like episode 26, 27, I think we went live like that, with video feed. But yeah, if you go back, I'm sure we've both aged quite a lot over the last 5 years. But what's been keeping us young is your fantastic support and, of course, all the wonderful news, because that's what we'll be talking about in just a short while. If you are new to the show, as I said, don't forget to like. But we always start the show by talking about what we've been playing this week. So usually it's on a live stream, but we also do play games in our off-camera time. Richie,
Yes.
Still playing Jedi Survivor. I said it like that.
I am playing Jedi Survivor, but I want to talk about Castlevania.
Oh, yes. Do. Go into it.
So I have been playing the Castlevania Dominus Collection. Shout out to Konami and Key Mailer for providing the code. There's currently a video up on my first look for members. It'll go for non-members at some point. I haven't got it scheduled. It was a random email I was not expecting to get. They got me a code at a time when I could record something, so I did. And you know what? It's really good. Really enjoyed it.
How many games total make it up?
There is, depending on how you're counting, 4 or 5. So in the menu, there's 3 main games. Then there's a second menu that has the original arcade game, Japanese arcade game, and then also a reimagining of that game. Well, with still pixel art style, but slightly modernized. Full disclosure, I have only played one of the 5 entries. I only played about an hour. Because the main 3 in the Dominus collection are Nintendo DS games. So it's quite interesting to see how they handled the dual screen thing. Yeah,
I noticed in the beginning of the live stream you mentioned that they split the DS screen into almost like a side menu panel, and then the main screen gets blown up a little bit in size.
Yeah, but it's not customizable, but there's a couple of options for how you want it presented. So you can have the 2 screens just side by side. You can have the main screen quite bigger and 2 smaller screens off to the side. One of them will have the map, which I believe is just normal on the DS as on the second screen, and one of them just has a kind of a character status screen. So it has an additional feature there. But yeah, it was actually, I thought it was really well done, and obviously it's customizable to a certain degree, which is always nice. But they're just good games.
Yeah, I didn't realise there were so many, but I guess it's a franchise that's been going for like 30 years now.
Yeah, and when I got the code, I realised I don't think I've played a Castlevania game before. I might have played bits here and there, but I've definitely not played a Castlevania game.
I think I've played one on the Sega Mega Drive, and maybe one of the Game Boy versions I had, one of the early ones. But I know they're they're so highly revered. They obviously spawned the Metroidvania style that we come to know so well.
They are half of the Metroidvania.
Absolutely, they're part of that duo. What I do really love though is anyone who checked out the Netflix anime. That's some of the best anime television we've got in many, many years.
I haven't seen it.
It's so good. You know what? If you're getting hyped off enjoying these games, it's a fantastic series. Like, it really is. Did you watch the Cyberpunk Edge Runners one?
Yeah.
It's like that level quality. It's really good. The voice acting's terrific. And Alucard is voiced by Richard Armitage of the Hobbit fame as well. He's
cool. So I have actually put Castlevania back down now because I do want to go back and continue Jedi Survivor, and I'm hoping to get the story credits rolled before I get my hands on Zelda. Mm-hmm. That's maybe a tight ask, but if I can roll credits, then go play Zelda, then come back and work on the platinum.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how things go after that.
Work to do. I think Castlevania's, it's ripe for the picking to 3Dify it properly, isn't it? Like, I know we've said it time and time again, but if you give me like I don't want it to go full like Bloodborne style. I just want it to be a game, like an action game with like the dark, broody horror elements of Resident Evil, because it's vampires and stuff, but with the action of The Witcher, maybe. I could see that working so well. And Konami have been sitting on Castlevania for a long time.
It's Soulsborne Castlevania game does make sense, but I'd make it more like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order in terms of its difficulty, because they are technically in the Soulsborne category, but they're flirting on the edge of it.
Would a lightsaber kill a vampire? Surely.
Well, cut in half. But yes, it would, because it's a light saber. It's made out of light.
Pure light. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, does it mirror the sun? That's a good question for you, you Reddit nerds out there. In the meantime,
only blue ones, or purple,
specific,
ultraviolet.
In the meantime, I've got a couple of live streams that have gone up on the channel this week. I checked out Space Marine 2 and a surprise drop which we reported on last week, which was the Plucky Squire going straight into PlayStation Plus. I'm also playing Star Wars Outlaw, still rounding that one up, and I don't think we covered it last week, I'm not too sure, but the Time Splitters Trilogy that went on to PlayStation Plus 2 weeks ago, that got trophies added midweek this past week. So now I'm just like, I'm looking at my dashboard thinking, shit, I've got those 3 to go through. Like my platinum list, like right up to Assassin's Creed Shadows now, is like stacked. Space Marine 2, just really quickly, go check out the first look on the channel, but everything I wanted and expected and more. Like, just the opening hour is like absolutely gorgeous. Unreal Engine absolutely sings in this game. Combat's just as fun as I remember it was from the first one, if not a little bit more refined, as you would imagine. The World War Z zombie infestation system works so well. There's a part in the first mission, Richie, where you're trying to set a bomb and you've got to do the typical video game thing of survive the onslaught for about 2 minutes while it triggers. And they do the zombie thing where the Tyranids, which are like xenomorphs from Alien, they stack up on each other to create ladders to get up to higher areas. So I'm there trying to shoot the base of the alien ladder out so they can't get up to me, but eventually I got overwhelmed and stuff. But it's like, it's so fun seeing that swarm almost like create its own way up to get you.
Yeah,
so good. And the weapons and the voice acting and just that Warhammer world, like I can't wait to see what Henry Cavill does with his universe, because it's just so ripe to be like that next big fantasy thing if it's done right and with the correct budget. And Space Marine, I think, is perfect for by the time Henry Cavill gets that underway. I think this will be clearly greenlit for a third entry. It's sold plus 2 million copies now, so we're going to see a Space Marine 3, hopefully a lot sooner than 13 years later, like this one. But
it's done well. We'll see it.
And I think one for you as well, after thoroughly enjoying Gears and no doubt Gears of War this coming weekend, if you're a Gears fan and you haven't played Space Marine, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's essentially the Gears fun and grounded gritty reality embodied into a fun action game. So yeah, go check out Space Marine 2 and the first look on the channel, of course. And then to completely pivot, Richie, to a whimsical fairy tale cartoon adventure, The Plucky Squire, available on PlayStation Plus Premium right now. Also equally great and fun in a completely different way. It's that 2D, you jump into a storybook, you've got an evil wizard you're fighting, and he's basically realised that the storybook is a story, and he can break that fourth wall, escape from the book, and pull items into the story and change the ending, and you basically can alter it. To give you a little bit of insight, one of the puzzles is to solve some of the puzzles and get past the blocks. You get out of the book, you grab the book, and you tilt the page, and the block slides in the book, and then you get back in, and you can be on your way. So it's really clever puzzle dynamics, mixing 2D to 3D, with just really, actually, in terms of story play, it's like It Takes Two, in terms of like the gameplay, mixed with a little bit of Lost Words sprinkled in there, because it is a book. Okay. So you can, to solve puzzles, you can switch words out. So there's one part where there's a concrete block, and I changed the word to cheese to distract a giant mouse. Nice. So just by changing the words on the page, the story is changed in real life as well. So yeah, it's got a lot of whimsy and character. It's kind of Sea of Stars meets It Takes Two, I'd say.
That's a weird crossover then.
It works.
It sounds awesome. Is it as good as it sounds?
You know what? I played Space Marine 2. I'm playing Outlaws. I've got Time Splitters, and I did Plucky Squire. Guess which one I went back to this afternoon?
Plucky Squire.
I did indeed. So I don't know whether it's a time thing, and then maybe I know I can finish it quite quickly because it is a shorter indie game. But I had a great time with it. I'm still enjoying it. I'm up to chapter 5, I think, now. So I've kept playing. I probably aim for the platinum for that one before going back to Outlaws or something.
I'm guessing this is a perfect Portal game.
That's what I went back to it on. It is. Absolutely. But yeah, so both first looks up on the channel now. If you're curious about it, go check them out. That's why we do them. It's so you can get a taste of it. And if you've been listening to us for 5 years now, you understand our vibes and what we're into and what our favourite type of games are. And if we give it a praise, then chances are you're going to like it as well. But that's what the first looks are there for. So go check them out. And I think that's it, Richie. We're going to obviously be playing a lot this weekend. So do join in. But we do have a busy show, as I mentioned. And we can't get into that until Richie introduces us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, a.k.a. The News.
The News. And as always, our weekly news segment is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, those fantastic folks who have supported the channel from yesteryear right to now and beyond, hopefully. From as little as 99 pence, they get early access to this very show over the weekend. They get early access to aforementioned live streams and first looks like Richie's Castlevania collection look. And a couple of other things sprinkled in there, like stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat when we do go live. But again, hand on heart, thank you very much for all the support. I think we definitely couldn't have done it. We couldn't reinvest in the channel with our intros and stuff. Richie's just had to buy a new hard drive because our computers are starting, after 5 years, they're starting to get a little bit heavy on the memory front.
I already have 2 external hard drives which are full from Sounds of Stadia and Helix Cloud Games, and now I've bought a third external hard drive because my internal one on my PC is full. So now I've started the GamerGuild one as well.
It happens. It just shows you that doing 400 and what did I say it was 429 over an hour each episodes of content. It soon adds up on a hard drive.
I mean, I could delete stuff, but I hoard it.
Yeah, we all do. Digital hoarding, it's a thing of beauty. But Richie, regardless of the support, let's get into the news. And PlayStation kicking off our news story for the week. They're going to celebrate the 30th anniversary later this year, and we knew they were going to do an anniversary collection of sorts. They teased it earlier in the month with just like stickers and little bits of merchandise and gear on the store, and we thought, is this how they're going to do it? Is that going to be it? No, they dropped a blog post this week that basically all of the anger, resentment, and bitterment that was built up last week around the PlayStation 5 Pro totally swept aside if you give it a nice PlayStation 1 retro colour palette, apparently. They came out and teased a collection of hardware accessories for the 30th anniversary that includes a PlayStation 5 Pro limited edition in the PlayStation Grey with special numbered coding. They're only making a certain amount of them. A digital PlayStation Slim 30th anniversary collection. A PlayStation Portal Remote Player 30th anniversary collection. A DualSense Edge and a regular DualSense controller with the 30th anniversary colours as well. In and amongst that, you also get things like the USB charging cable is designed to reflect the original PlayStation 1 controller. The charging dock has also got there, and they also come with little cable ties that represent the sacred symbols of PlayStation. And immediately when that's not even it. Even the packaging, the box art is very reminiscent of the original PlayStation 1. And my word, when I saw this and I read the blog, I couldn't help just look at myself, go, fuck, I want it all. I want every one of these things. I don't have the money to, and I know after last week we both said we don't want a Pro, but my word, did this have me counting my pennies going, do I want a Pro? Can I trade in my PS5? But we don't know the price yet. We don't know the price. The rumor is it's going to be more expensive, which I think is a big dick move. If it's like it can be limited edition and still be the same price as the regular model. It's literally just a color palette change and a couple of little accents here and there. Then I reasoned with myself after speaking to my wife that maybe I just get the DualSense. Maybe. In my heart, I'm telling myself maybe I'll just get the Portal and sell my current Portal and then kind of like count the differences, like the treat, like the £50 I might make back or something. I don't know what the current going rates are for the Portal.
That Portal is sick though.
It is.
I love the retro good. PlayStation button on like a multi-grey tone thing with that little bit of colour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's good.
It just pops. I'd love to know if you're out there watching along and you are you grew up a Nintendo kid or you're more Xbox inclined. Like, does this pop for as much as you, or me and Richie having our roots in PlayStation? Is it just tipping us over the edge beyond? Because the internet just popped off for this. Everyone was like, "That is sexy shit." Why is grey with a little splash of colour just work on hardware? Why does that work?
A regular DualSense. I think if it had that little splash of colour, that'd be a nicer controller.
But these anniversary ones, though, the whole range just looks beautiful to me. I'm like, oh, money. There's not really much more to say on that one, I guess, other than isn't it the ping pong of being a PlayStation fan right now is like back and forth. It's like, it goes. It's like being in a toxic relationship, isn't it? It's like Concord to Astrobot to PS5 Pro cost, then back to the 30th anniversary. Like, basically means next week we're in for a bad one, which is ironic because there is a rumoured state of play coming this Tuesday.
But could be a bad one.
I mean, it's not a showcase; it's a state of play, and if you don't temper your expectations, they usually leave people a bit sour inside. We
are talking about internet reception, not sensible people reception here. So it's going to be poorly received because people will be expecting a showcase.
That is true. But I'll put it to you then, Richie. Of this 30th anniversary collection, if you were to dig deep or maybe treat yourself or maybe the girlfriend will look for you this Christmas, any standout items that kind of like tickle your fancy or that could push you to open up that wallet? Because it all looks so damn good.
The problem is I don't need any of it.
Do we need any of the stuff we talk about on this show?
I think I would rather spend my money on games, assuming money's no object. That I do like that Portal because I use my Portal a lot. Mm-hmm. It is my Portal is basically my primary gaming system right now. So that Portal could tempt me, but I don't want to spend the money on a second Portal right now.
Yeah, this is where I was starting to think, like, right, Christmas is coming.
If I didn't own a Portal, though, I'd be going for that bad boy.
Yeah, I'm looking. Like, they have said, to be clear for everyone, pre-orders begin on the 26th of September in regions via PlayStation Direct. If you're in a country that doesn't have PlayStation Direct, they're going to sell exclusively through PlayStation partners. They have specifically said there is limited availability on these. In particular, if you're looking to get the PlayStation 5 Pro bundle, they're only selling, I can't find it in the article, but it's something like 12,000 units or something. So it mirrors the date which the PlayStation launched. So it's like 12 something. But it's basically super limited edition. It'll say somewhere in here, I'm sure. There you go, 12,300 units, which is very few for a global audience. Just over 10k.
You know what? I do like the PlayStation Slim and the PlayStation Pro, the look of them. But I think I still don't want in my living room my console to be like a statement piece massively on display. I don't mind it in my office because there's a nerd cave basically. But in my living room, as beautiful as it looks, that's getting hid behind the telly. There is actually space behind our telly, so that's actually where my girlfriend's PlayStation is. It's literally behind the telly. So it wouldn't be on display anywhere. So for me, that would be the Portal or the DualSense. I wouldn't get the DualSense Edge.
Yeah, I wouldn't get the Edge either, but the regular...
I don't think it's worth the additional cost.
No.
I just don't.
We're not Twitch shooter players, that's why. But yeah, the Portal, I'm kind of like just toying with myself thinking, like, my PlayStation Portal's in immaculate condition still. Like, there's no reason why it would ever really be damaged. Especially when you look after your tech like we both do. And I'm thinking, like, second hand, I reckon I could still get a good 120 upwards for it, probably. I've still got the box as well, so I could even sell it, like, I don't know why I have it to hand, but... Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, even if I get that means if the 30th anniversary edition is the same retail RRP price, 80 quid for that sexy motherfucker?
I think there is
and my wife can get me it for Christmas.
I think there is currently a lot of Portals going second hand because I think there was some initial like difficulties on like getting them out. So scalpers took them all and left with this stock that is now. I've seen on things like Facebook Marketplace, people listen to PlayStation Portal for higher than it's actually you can actually buy it directly from PlayStation, and there isn't a stock issue in the UK at the moment.
Scalpers aren't smart; they're just timely and crafty.
Yeah.
But they're not smart. Remember those people who kept hold of PlayStation 5s in storage, and then when demand caught up, they had 20 in a warehouse. It was like, well, that backfired. You have to sell them for regular price now.
Depends how much money profit you've made off the rest of them.
Yeah, it's the effort. But either way, I think it's a fantastic celebration of PlayStation's 30th anniversary. There is one notable absence, though, I did want to touch on as part of this news story. No 30th anniversary VR unit, PlayStation. Didn't want to give the grey treatment to one of your main peripherals. No,
I didn't even notice that.
No, is that not a thing? Is this? I know we said. I've been saying for a long time, PSVR 2 is dead with a capital D, Continue.
Got the earbuds and stuff in this as well.
They haven't, but I think that's because it's a smaller accessories range. Like, it's maybe just too much. Like, to put on your marketing teams to get that branding out across so many things. I think they've picked the big hitters. And again, I think the plates are quite easy to do. I think the colour schemes are probably a switch. But I think when you get as meticulous as, like, earbuds and stuff. But I just think the PSVR is one of their hardware pillars. and the fact that the Portal got it. And I know I made a prediction pretty much when I first got my hands on it that it will outsell the PSVR 2 and more so. I think it's safe to say that it's done. R.I.P.
Even if it's not done, they've looked at it and went, it's worth doing a limited edition run for a Portal, but not for the VR2.
I think both this partnered with the huge success of Astrobot not coming to PSVR 2, even though it was a PSVR 2 game. Like, Astrobot was the VR mascot, and he jumped over to the main console, and he's never looked back, to his credit. And no games supporting. Remember, we got Horizon at launch, Call of the Mountain, and we've had nothing from first party since. PSVR 2 must be, 2.5, 3-year-old nearly now? Yeah, maybe we'll see some of the State of Play. We should point out as well, we're not covering the State of Play. We don't plan to, because I think it's rumoured to be this Tuesday, so tomorrow after this show goes live. If they suddenly tease like it's Ghost of Tsushima or something, we might jump in for the half an hour, but chances are we'll just pick it up on next week's live show.
I really wish they'd give you like more notice, because I'd like to watch it. I'd like to cover it, but considering we're recording this on Friday evening and we don't know, and it might be Tuesday, there's no way to it makes it very difficult for us to schedule something like that.
Yeah. And I think the other one is there's Tokyo Games Week, which we know, which is why we think the State of Play is lined up, because it's to get ahead of Tokyo Games Week, because we know PlayStation are going to be there. Kojima, we're now going to hear Death Stranding news. Xbox, Phil Spencer put out a little brief video earlier today saying, like, we're looking forward to seeing you there. Tease something big potentially. And the reality is we'll probably just have to cover it on the show. We'd love to do all this, but as Richie said at the top of the show, like, we've got friends, family, commitments, work. Like, I can't just drop everything on a random Tuesday with 24 hours notice to record when it's not fair on the plans I've already made with family.
I'm rarely in my own house, so I have to plan to make sure I'm in the right house to record at the moment.
It happens.
Yeah, it does.
But that's it for the PlayStation 30th anniversary for now. We might see some more things. Have a look on the Gear store. As I said, there's some cool PlayStation merch out there. If you are a big fan, the way to get yours is apparently just to paint things in grey with a little splash of colour. It works. It works. Moving on, though, to the next story. Richie, if you are moving between houses so often, why not think again about getting yourself the Switch predecessor, currently known as the Switch 2 or the Super Nintendo Switch. I'm sure it'll be on our radar in the near future, but as the rumour mill continues, I can't wait until Nintendo just bloody announce this damn thing so we can stop rumour milling around for what feels like 3-4 years now.
Yeah. We need an intervention. All video game fans need to go to Nintendo. Guys, we love the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us it.
The Switch will be 8 years old in March. Like, come on, guys, what are you doing over there? What are you doing? But I'm sure you're going to have a great time playing Zelda later on this week anyway. So,
oh yeah,
who knows? Because this news story comes from a Nintendo Life, and that is the Switch 2 design photos and specifications have reportedly leaked online. This is from a Chinese website that claims it's got the Switch's details masked out in some kind of like 3D rendering, and also some prototype models have leaked from factories where no doubt the Switch's components will be made. Take it with a grain of salt, as with everything, but realistically, if they are looking to get this thing out either end of this financial or the start of next year, so March, April, which is the massive rumour, it would make sense that they're probably deep into manufacturing now. So the components, it happens a lot with mobile phones where you tend to find out the shape and size of a phone because the accessory partners get hold of the specs first hand, so they know where to put the camera placement, the buttons. They basically get the dimensions, and that seemingly is what happened here. There's images that have gone out which basically just show off the form factor of it all, and it's pretty much what we wanted. What you said, Richie, it's just a bigger Switch, bigger screen, bigger size, bigger battery, faster processors. We're rumoured to be potentially looking at 12 gigabytes of RAM, HDMI 2.1 support, and which a lot of people will appreciate, 256 gigabytes of internal storage. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, this sounds good. Maybe slightly underpowered on the RAM, but this is Nintendo and they do the wizards when it comes to like underpowered hardware. Mm-hmm. None of that is problematic. Maybe could do with a bit more storage than 256 gig. not much nowadays, to be fair, considering I've just bought a 2 terabyte hard drive, literally 10 times the storage I've just purchased. So it could do with a bit more, but to be honest, that's more of a convenience factor, I think. How big's Call of Duty Warzone nowadays? I'm just trying to get a
It's like 500 plus.
Yeah, see, that's where you have issues. I know for Switch, if they were to port it onto the Switch, you probably expect it to be a lighter version. That should be, for me, one tera should be the standard in games nowadays.
Yeah.
Or 1 tera plus. But other than that, I want to see its actual performance with games more than anything. But if these are true, it's what I want. It's a better Switch.
Yeah,
and that's all I want. I just want a better Switch.
Yeah, and it looks like the Joy-Cons are not going to have clips. It looks like they're going to be magnetically connected, which was, again, I think it was a patent that was filed maybe 2 odd years back.
Yeah.
So we knew that was kind of the design ethos they were leaning into more, because I know the Joy-Cons came with their own list of problems. It's just, I think that's what we said Nintendo just need to do, don't we? Is just get out a better version of the current Switch and with backwards compatibility, and everyone will be quite content to just keep chugging along on that Nintendo train and suck up the nostalgia, and maybe with a few more modern titles.
There's a few things I'd like it to be able to do. I'd like it to be able to fit into current Switch docks.
Yeah, but that won't happen.
I'd like it to be compatible with current Joy-Cons as well, which that probably won't happen either. Nah. And to be honest, it looks like they could do a bit more with the ergonomics, actually. Looks like they've rounded where the triggers are, and that's about it for ergonomics. For long play sessions, having something a bit more molded. If you look at something like the Steam Deck or the Portal, you just want something that is a bit more comfortable than just flat.
Yeah, completely agree. I think having had the Portal for over a year now, that form factor of just the 2 actual controllers,
it's just like holding a wider DualSense.
Yeah, I think the Switch is great for what it was, but I think after long play sessions, the Portal is definitely my preference, just because those full man-sized like handles of the DualSense to grip, it does make a lot of difference.
Just look at what's happening in the portable PC market in terms of ergonomics, and all of them are inspired by, every single one of them is inspired by the success of the Switch.
Absolutely.
So what they've done, the Switch has done well, what can be improved, and they've improved on all of them have improved on ergonomics.
Yeah. And you know what I'll be quite content with? Is just getting rid of that fat bezel. My word.
You know what? I don't care about bezels, because the thing is, when you're playing a game, if the game is good enough, you don't notice the bezel because you're not looking at it.
Just from an aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah.
The design eye bugs me with it, but more Switch 2 news, leaks. It's the saving grace, which is now we are in the kind of the final throes of the race, and we've been talking about it for so long, but this thing has to come out next year, so we have to hear about it soon, and it seems to be getting there.
I've got a feeling now it's going to be, because we are getting quite late in the year. I would expect it to be out in time for Christmas next year. Probably this time next year, and because at this point, if they want one last hurrah with the current Switch, which I think they'll be looking at as Christmas, the last hurrah for the Switch, and then maybe Q1 next year, let's talk about the Switch. Finally, talk about the Switch 2.
Switch 2, let's do it. But yeah, so hopefully some Switch news coming up soon. Maybe we'll get some stuff at Tokyo Games Week, which we'll cover on next week's live show. If it's gone live, I can't remember when Tokyo Games Week is. I feel like it's this week. If we've got a State of Play on Tuesday, I feel like it might be next weekend when we have the celebration. It might be on. We've covered the day before. But yes, hopefully some Switch news, hopefully some PlayStation news. We know Xbox are going to be there. And we'll cover it all on next week's live show. And we'd love you to join us from 12 o'clock next Saturday, 28th of September. Moving on to another preview that we've got. This one isn't a leak. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's one that's not been on my radar. It's not been on a couple of people's radar. Hell, it wasn't even on the developers' radar for quite some time. But BioWare have gone back to the well, and it seems like influencers have had their hands on it this past week for kind of like 6-hour segments. And looking around at all the different gaming websites, it seems to be that Dragon Age: The Veilguard is getting people really, really hyped, Richie. I've heard things from a lot of people we often listen to as it's if the first 6 hours gives any indication what the rest of the game's like, this is straight up for Game of the Year discussion, is what I've heard. Reading some other reviews, people said this Dragon Age: Veilguard feels like the series' Mass Effect 2 moment. As anyone knows, Mass Effect 1 to 2 for BioWare was like a huge leap in just everything, polished storytelling, gameplay. The best of the series, most people would say. And I was curious because you were the more Dragon Age inclined of the two, as I've never played a Dragon Age game, and this isn't really on my radar for the back end of the year. But everything I'm reading, everything I'm hearing about it, from character creator to open world to dialogue choices, like in the classic BioWare fashion, seems good. Like, I know it got a lot of criticism in the trailers for its cartoony style, maybe leaning more towards Fortnite than it was realism. But it seems to be that people are kind of getting over that now. They're getting hands on it and actually seeing what it's like in play. So, yeah, where are you at with Dragon Age: Veilguard? Do all these positive previews have you any more hyped? It comes out on Halloween.
I don't know, to be honest. One of my things is Dragon Age Origins, one of my favourite games of all time. Dragon Age 2 is fun, but it was rushed. Like, the main problem with that game is it was made in like 9 months or something. Mm-hmm. It was ridiculous. Inquisition I didn't love. The opening hours of that game were amazing. But as the game wore on, I found it. Have you ever played a game that you like less the more you play?
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of them. And the character of Solus, I despised him. Not in the way that you like some characters you love to hate. Like Emperor from Star Wars, you love to hate that fucker.
Yes.
But you like him when he's on screen. Mm-hmm. The character of Solus, hated every moment he was on screen. Every single word out of his mouth, I just could not. You know, when you just can't stand someone rubs you up the wrong way. And back when this game was called Dragon Age Dreadwolf, he is the Dreadwolf. So he was, I don't know if he still is, but he was meant to be central to the plot, which kind of just made me go, ugh. Kind of like, I don't want a game that's focused around him, personally. And then there's the track record of BioWare at the moment, which I think is abysmal. I don't think they've done anything good since Inquisition. And I include the Mass Effect Remastered Trilogy because that was a broken mess.
It's the same stuff. Reading from the Eurogamer article then, to give us a bit more of a taste of what this might be, this is from the preview. The Veilguard actually plays more like a single-player action game in combat than a traditional RPG in the Dragon Age games before it. I went back to Inquisition recently and was startled by how slow the combat felt by comparison, and how static it seemed with characters just standing around. There's none of that here. All of the classes have full complement of combat abilities, and can all dodge, dash, and perform some kind of range attack as standard as well as block, and attack with light or medium hits to change variation throughout. You'll frequently have to use all of them to survive. You're never safe, even at the back. Enemies won't leave you alone, they'll teleport, etc. And it goes on to discuss the combat a little bit more. There are no more difficulties in the Veilguard that I've seen in BioWare's game, should you want to adjust it. So, there are more difficulty options for combat, but it looks like it's going to be more action heavy than maybe turn-based. This could be like a Final Fantasy evolution, it seems, to like more modernize it.
Yeah, which I think is a shame, actually. I'm not saying it's a bad decision. I think it's a bit of a shame because you look at Baldur's Gate 3, how well that did, and it was unashamedly a traditional Western RPG. Moving it more into an action RPG, I think loses a bit of the identity. I don't know. I'm not hyped. This is a game I should be really hyped for. And every decision they've made that I've seen is not the one I would make. It's not. I don't know. There's something about it. I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling this game at the moment. It could be amazing, and it sounds like it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you know what? At some point, I'll pick it up, get my hands on it, and all these bugbears I have going into it will be long forgotten. I'll have a blast.
Yeah, reading out the end of this preview is the journalist says, I've only played one act of a 3-act game, though, so there's not much more I haven't seen, and what I've seen was condensed into an action-packed mission and fixed sequences, with the exception of a slightly more open-ended crossroad area, which you'll return to time and time again. So it seems like there's a bit of a hub world. I didn't see much in the way of downtime because there wasn't any time for it, so I haven't seen any quieter moments of the game. Regardless, I'm elated to see BioWare in this kind of form. As an action cinematic game, the Veilguard roars with quality, as well as role-playing, is a welcome refreshment to the density of Baldur's Gate 3, which it'll no doubt be compared against later this year, though perhaps it will be better considered a complement to. Based on what I've played, I have absolutely no doubt the Veilguard will be an enjoyable ride. My concern is however much a memorable one it will be. So it seems like, and reading around, you can go read obviously your own reviews from multiple outlets, but they all seem to be on the same thing where combat's fun, characters are great, like in terms of the companions, the character creator's great, the visuals look beautiful and stunning, and it kind of makes me think like again, having never played one, for me it's like the story hook. Like, why should I give a shit about these fantasy characters? Like, what is going to pull me in, as you said, my faith in BioWare. Like, I love the characters in Mass Effect. I was actually shocked playing the game many years later with the Legendary Collection, how much the writing in that game stands out so well. I actually cared about all the different characters and species and races and the history, and I was listening to the codexes because that guy's voice is so cool who does them, and just learning about the Citadel and all the history of the universe and stuff, which really shocked me. Like, it really did just feel like a really good Star Wars game. But with this one, I look at it and go, BioWare's history doesn't make me want to play it. Having never played one of the other previous entries before doesn't make me want to play it. So saying it's just a good action game, that's not enough anymore. So I think I'm with you where it needs to come out with 9s and 10s. It needs to be deep in that Game of the Year conversation for me to go, you know what? This might be my first Dragon Age game.
I think you would really enjoy the story and the presentation of Dragon Age Origins. It's old and it's a bit janky now, and some of the visuals aren't great. It is a bit ugly in places. But I think the narrative you'd really appreciate. Inquisition, again, I think is a game that you could actually really enjoy. With every game in the series, they've got more and more action-focused and less aware. Because what I loved about Dragon Age Origins when it came out is it reminded me of a game like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. It kind of scratched that itch, which is why the Eurogamer article that we've been reading from is guessing it will be compared to Baldur's Gate 3, because in the games have their origins in PC as a isometric top-down, quite tactical game. You could set up your party members to have certain tactics, but you were meant to be switching between parties, giving them all instructions. And every game's went more focused on the action.
Yeah. Moving on then, Richie, from Dragon Age the Veilguard, we won't have to wait too much longer to hear about that. You are joining the show at the halfway point, folks, and the halfway point we now have video. So thank you, welcome, thanks for sticking with us through the audio. Audio listeners, haha, fuck you video people, that's what you get for watching on YouTube, I guess. Shout out to all the Spotify and Pocket Cast listeners out there whose show's not been interrupted at all. Moving on though, next story of the week, Richie. Concord. Let's talk about Concord. It has reportedly cost Sony $400 million. And
that's spicy.
It is. It really is. And I'm not one for kicking a game while it's down. I wanted Concord to succeed, as little interest as I and seemingly everyone else in the world had in the game. This is reported from Colin Moriarty over on the Sacred Symbols podcast. I think this is the biggest PlayStation podcast in the world. I listen to it every week. It's the former IGN kind of funny dude over there. Actually, funny story, Richie. This past week, you'll know. One of his folks wrote in about small towns and funny history, and they covered local tours. It was Hartlepool they were covering.
Oh, right.
But being an American, he pronounced it Hartlepool.
Oh.
And someone wrote in the subsequent week to talk about how to pronounce it. I think someone from Carlisle wrote in and also told him how to pronounce Carlisle. And they went on to mock us for our own British language and how bad we are, which he is right. The British do sometimes speak the worst version of English possible in various accents.
Yeah, because it's not. It's a language that has evolved over time from a lot of different
in such a
influences.
small location as well.
It's because our country has history and America doesn't.
Right, well, let's not piss anyone off on the other side of the pond. But either way, from that, go check out the episode. He also talks about like the monkey hangers and stuff, and I thought it was hilarious. And I thought, yeah, that's very local to us, so we appreciate that. But then, yeah, back to the story. In terms of Concord, we knew it was a historical flop. I don't think it's going to be salvaged. But yeah, ex-IGN reporter spoke to one of the Concord staff members, in and amongst rumours this week that the director of the game's left the company now, which we discussed it, I think, 2 weeks ago about layoffs and is the studio just going to be closed down. This probably leans into more so because the game approximately cost $400 million. He claims that Firewalk Studios spent around $200 million at the start of last year, prior to the Sony acquisition. The title was originally being funded by Probably Monsters, which was a separate publisher, private studio, publisher company, with PlayStation signing on as a publishing partner. It's unclear how much of the original $200 million came from the platform holder's pocket. However, when it acquired the studio and took full control of the project, it allegedly spent a further $200 million getting the title ready to release. According to Moriarty, the game was in a disastrous state as recently as 18 months ago, with no player onboarding process or monetization design built in. Outsourcing was then required to get the project into shape, and obviously that costs a lot. But by release, to its credit, it was fairly okay. It got 7s out of 10 across the board, basically making it Sony's biggest ever release from a budgetary standpoint for a first party. Behind the scenes, this was apparently the game they were talking about was like a Star Wars level project, and they go on to talk about the studio had a positive toxicity, which is basically like no one can do bad because you don't want to criticize it. Yeah.
You weren't allowed, reading from a Push Square article, which is covering Colin Moriarty, you weren't allowed to say anything internally about this game, about how something's wrong with it, or how the character designs aren't right. Mm-hmm. That is just stupid.
Yeah.
You can obviously, it's easy to be toxic in a negative way, but in a creative thing, you need people to be able, when you're collaborating with people, you need to be able to put something in front of people and then give you actual constructive feedback. And then the constructive feedback might be you spelled anniversary wrong, and it could be actually this character just seems off, it doesn't fit the world, I don't like the design of that. Obviously, I think in a creative thing you have to go to specifics. This is why I think this isn't working for me, but you can't just say nothing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's down and out. We'll obviously get more about it soon. But just to add to that, we don't want to obviously keep flogging that dead horse, but I know at the top of the show, I was talking about Time Splitters getting trophies. A separate article from Push Square. Data coming from the UK sales chart shows that the Time Splitters titles sold individually sold more than Concord. So that's an old retro game getting a relaunch, sold more.
It makes you wonder, what was it that Sony saw in this game to spend $400 million on it?
I think it was just chasing a lost cause, and they were so deep into it. It was like just more money. Get it out.
They must have had the blinkers on. They couldn't see. They were probably looking and go, "Oh my god, this is amazing," but not actually doing any real market research.
Yeah,
that's how it feels.
Absolutely seems like that at the moment. But yeah, shout out to Time Splitters. Moving on from that to another Bungie tied in kind of game. Rumours are this week Bungie's Marathon, the upcoming reboot game following on from Destiny 2, is going to stick with its £40/$40 price tag, according to recent reports. They're not going to make a pivot to free-to-play. They're keeping with that $40 price tag. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw it over to you, Richie, and think, in the wake of Concord, is this too far? Apparently internally they're too far to pivot back to a free-to-play model. Did they delay it? Where's your vibe with Marathon? Because I really worry that Bungie should maybe have just moved on to Destiny 3.
To to be perfectly honest, I don't really know much about Marathon, but that, I think, in itself is part of the problem. It does have very Concord vibes for me, where it's forgettable.
And Fair Games vibes. Like, they all look the same. They're just sci-fi shooters with bright colours.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe because it is Bungie, there might be a bit more credibility. People might be a bit more interested.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. They'd be foolish to not review this game in the context of Concord, though. Because if they just go steamroll ahead, it's going to be $40 up front. We're going to have a similar monetization structure, and we're just not going to learn our lesson. $40 might be the right cause, the right path, but it didn't work in an extreme way for a very recent game that looks quite similar. Why would it work again? And if it is a case of we can't change it because it's too far along, then delay it. You're better off waiting to get the game right. But otherwise, it's done.
Do you not feel like Concord's maybe just burned them a little bit, where they think, do we end up with Marathon costing 400 million? And it obviously it won't do as bad because it's got Bungie behind it, but it's still an unknown IP. It's like, this isn't Destiny 3. Like, how many people really look at the box or look at the trailer and go, oh, it's Bungie, I know what that means. The average gamer out there does not know who Bungie are. They know Destiny is.
No.
But they have no clue about its legacy or anything.
I think you get some goodwill from the Destiny fans coming over to support Bungie's new game. So I think the launch won't be but it just will not be as bad as Concord.
No.
But does it have the legs? Because a lot of the people who've come over from Destiny to give it a go to support Bungie's new thing will probably bounce back to Destiny. So I don't know. The $40 price point, if the game is good enough. Look, Helldivers, the game was good enough. It was the right game at the right time. Marathon could be that.
But this is where I feel like Helldivers was just like lightning in a bottle. Like, Sony didn't expect it. And it didn't, like, the intention wasn't to have really season content. It was just like a one-off PvE game. The big difference is the PvE. Is as soon as you start getting into matchmaking and game models and stuff, game modes and stuff, capture the flag and team deathmatch and changeable skill trees, it starts to get away from what made Helldivers fun, which was just jump in, work together, kill random bugs, and you have a common enemy. It's as simple as that sounds. Marathon, Concord, Fair Games, it's all about like 5v5 and 6v6 and skins and mods, and we've seen it in Apex, we've seen it in Destiny, we've seen it in Overwatch. It's just like it's so saturated. Like, I just don't give a shit at all.
I think these games do really, really well with a younger audience, but the younger audience are playing because this is a big part. We've talked about this before, where it's a big part of their social life. They'll jump into play Fortnite because that's what all the friends are playing, and that's how they interact with their friends outside of school a lot. So if you assume that $40 price tag goes on, so we don't have that money because we're school kids. So you're kind of pricing out. I know $40, it's not a huge amount of money, but you are pricing out a lot of the audience that goes in to play these games. These older people who play them.
But we're two of them, and I'd wager a lot of our audience are another group of them who just...
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather go play Destiny 2.
The thing is, Marathon, it does have a bit more of an advantage, however, because it isn't a new title. There'll be people who played the original Marathon who had fond memories of it will come back
and get a shock of how it's not the same game in any way, shape, or form. Other than the name.
It'll be full of microtransactions and cosmetic shops and stuff, which probably didn't need battle passes, which didn't exist with the original one.
Well, yeah, it says in the article as well, despite Concord's failure, Bungie and Sony report is still planning to release Marathon, complete with standard cosmetic shop/battle pass stuff, barring anything seismic, because development is simply too far along to pivot back to a free-to-play model.
But they've had something seismic.
Yeah, the extraction shooter is, for instance, said to adopt a class/hero system similar to Apex Legends, but with a greater focus on customization. Characters will reportedly each have a handful of unique abilities such as double jumps and fast revives, but the emphasis is said to be on customizable guns and gear with universal character implants and gameplay buffs earned through XP and changeable skill trees. That's like so many buzzwords that I just don't give a toss about. So much to a point where Richie's camera reset.
Okay, yeah, you froze on my end. I'm not sure what happened there.
I just said a bunch of buzzwords. Shooter,
No.
Twitch, cosmetics, battle pass. That's it in a nutshell. But we won't talk anymore about Marathon, but I think PlayStation have some big decisions on their hands, and I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes we're going to have a knock-on effect of a drastic pivot back towards single player. Because it's too much money for no return. And I think Concord was a very stark lesson for the whole industry. And hopefully it'll be a lesson learned.
Hopefully. I do hope Concord does well. Oh, not Concord, the Marathon. I hope it does well. But I hope every game does well.
Yeah.
I just don't see the route for it to do well, but to be honest.
It's interesting business decisions seem to impact them and choices made. Similar to our next story of the week is pivoting over to Halloween themed because we're getting close. Silent Hill 2 Remake is going to be a PlayStation 5 console exclusive for 1 whole year. It's finally been confirmed that the remake is going to come to PS5 on October 8th, and it'll follow 1 year later on other formats in October 2025. So next Halloween, if you're on anything other than PC and PS5, probably Xbox and is pretty much the only other outlier there, you'll be able to jump back into the Silent Hill 2 remake with grim world graphics in 4K, 3D audio, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, and a dynamic light bar to help you track James's health throughout the game. Not too far off this, Richie. A PlayStation exclusive, all things said and done. Halloween coming up, it's always a good time to release a spooky game like this. I'm still annoyed they did Silent Hill 2 and not 1 remake.
Yeah, it seems a weird decision.
It's like, I know they're copying Resident Evil by going back in and doing a remake, but you didn't have to copy them by starting the second one. Like, come on.
Technically, Capcom did do a Resident Evil 1 remake.
Yeah, but
it's just, in itself is old.
The RE engine compared to the GameCube one is vastly different. But yeah, Silent Hill. I forgot who's working on this. Is this Bloober team? Is this the Bloober guys? Bloober.
They feel like they should be bought by Sony, to be honest. It feels like...
Yeah, I don't know if they've got the pedigree to fit into that. Sony have turned their nose up at a lot of potential buyers. But I mean, they're $400 deep in Concord debt right now, so maybe that PlayStation Pro 30th anniversary collection will rake in the dollars. Moving on to some other news, though, we got some Xbox announcements coming to Game Pass. I'll just rattle through them so you've got them here. September 19th, Wargroove 2 comes to console, PC, and cloud. If you are a football/soccer fan, the new upcoming EA Sports FC 25 gets a free 10-hour trial on console and PC from September 20th. PC gets, also on September 20th, Frostpunk 2. And History Untold, comes to PC on September 24th. In addition to that, it's also been confirmed that 10 titles are going to be leaving Xbox Game Pass in September, so keep an eye out for such favourites like Gotham Knights and Valheim. But do also remember October is a big month because Call of Duty Black Ops 6 drops in just a few weeks' time as well. So Game Pass got some big hitters coming. I did want to spend a little bit of time, Richie, just talking about Frostpunk 2. I feel like this is a game that's got like quite a good kind of build-up, but I've never really seen anything of it. And I know it's getting... actually. It's one of them where it's quite highly acclaimed. Frostpunk 2 released actually today at the time of recording. It's got an 86 on Metacritic.
Not bad. 9 out of 10 on Steam.
Yeah, but I just don't know. What's the description on Steam? Because I don't know anything about this game for some reason.
So develop, expand, and advance your city in a society survival game set 30 years after an apocalyptic blizzard ravaged Earth. In Frostpunk 2, you face not only the perils of never-ending winter, but also the powerful factions that watch your every step inside the council hall. It's Its tags are strategy, city builder, survival, and post-apocalyptic.
So it's a bit like Humankind / Civilization, it looks like.
But with more of a survival twist to it.
Yeah.
I think this could be really cool, actually.
I like the aesthetics of it. It's got like a very Metro vibe because of the Soviet / cold influence. Looking at just a few things from reviews.
PC GamePass.
Yeah, a couple of reviews here. 9 out of 10 from FC Tech. Frostpunk is an excellent looking, excellent sounding, and great playing organic growth and succession from the original. Spreading further along the wasteland, you have to balance more and deal with politics, resources, factions, and even more challenges, often including settling and building in new areas. Still a challenge, but more approachable. This is yet another city builder that will shine amongst others. So it's nice to see that. I like it when a game comes out of nowhere that kind of like just catches you off guard. Eurogamer gave it 100, also a 10 out of 10. A sequel that takes the thrilling cold survival city building heart of Frostpunk and evolves it in every way while losing none of what made the series so special to begin with. Interesting. Might be one for the dock there, Richie. Frostpunk 2, and available on Game Pass, as I said. So some Game Pass titles there for you all to check out and play. Richie, our Xbox All Access has now lapsed, I think, or is it imminent? I don't think mine. Yes. I think I've made my last payment now. So
technically, my last payment's meant to be next month, but because it's via Klarna, I've tried to just pay off the last payment up front, so it's done. But I've also went over to CD Keys and bought myself 3 months of Game Pass. I already have through Microsoft Rewards, and I think 2 months added up. So I don't actually have to pay another penny after this last transaction till like April.
Pro tip. I like it.
Yeah.
That means you'll have some spare change to spend on your Nintendo Switch Online subscription, because moving on to the next story. Which is actually due. Which is due. Convenient.
Yeah, conveniently, it's actually due the same day as Zelda comes out.
Very convenient. Nintendo expand their Switch Online library with 4 more titles. Battletoads Double Dragon, the 1993 beat-em-up, is arriving, as well as 3 Super Famicom titles, including a Big Run from 1991, the action puzzle title Cosmo Gang, and 1993 Kuno-kun no Dodgeball Dayo Zenin Shugo. Whatever the hell that means. It's a sports game, apparently. And puzzle games, Big Run. Again, it's typical of this. The only one I really stand out for me is Battletoads Double Dragon. I didn't realise they had a crossover between those 2 franchises. I like that Nintendo preserving these things. They definitely run on the Switch.
Yeah.
Going back to our second story about specs being updated.
And honestly, Switch Online with the expansion. You don't need the expansion for these games because these are the SNES games or SNES games if you're sensible. It's not that much, to be honest. I think it's something like 30 quid for a year.
Yeah, I think I had it for the first year, and then I just literally didn't use it. So, like, once I had my taste of some of the main classics, I think the only one everyone's really waiting on is Donkey Kong 64. For some reason, that's the only one that's still not on the list.
For like the N64 and Game Boy Advance and stuff, there's still tons of stuff that could do that.
That's the only notable one that I've heard people talking about.
Pokemon. Not there. I'd love Pokemon to come. That would be the biggest get for me. Just get all the Pokemon games over.
Well, they're busy suing Palworld over Pokemon at the moment, so...
I think the reason why they won't do Pokemon is because they know Pokemon is the most profitable multimedia franchise of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to sell you them individually again.
Yeah.
And they will, and you will pay for it.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting line to use, because talking about selling you stuff over and over again, the next story of the week comes from the world of PlayStation Vita as the exclusive freedom.
It lives.
It's not. No, it's dead. It's very much dead. Finds itself in a nice place where Freedom Wars is getting a remaster on current platforms. So for those who aren't familiar with Freedom Wars, it was originally developed by Dimps and published by Sony back in 2014. Bandai Namco are going to publish the remastered port of the game on Switch, PS5, PS4 and PC. It's set to release on the 10th of January. So go check that one out. Freedom Wars is, if you don't know, it's set in a dystopian future where the planet has been ravaged by pollution and humanity. We all reside in a city-sized prisons called panopticons. It's an anime world. Just being alive is considered a sin. And basically what you have to do is similar to the Suicide Squad. You all have to go out and do missions. And basically every time you do a successful mission, it takes it off your life sentence. So you're basically doing these missions to reduce your time in this prison world. Players will explore, fight enemies, use various weapons in either online multiplayer or local co-op. And the remaster version is going to bring the usual 4K resolution, upgraded textures, 60 frames per second, overhaul weapons crafting and difficulty settings, and more. This is one of those titles that's like revered as one of the best exclusives on the PlayStation Vita. So it seems like an odd choice for remaster, but after 11 years, hell, get it across.
I don't think it's an odd choice at all. If it's revered as one of the best titles on an entire platform, getting this in modern hardware so people who don't have a Vita can play it. Great.
That's true.
That's good. This is when I like remasters, when they can take a game that was beloved and introduce it to a new audience.
Yeah, I like the concept of running down your sentence.
Yeah,
like everyone's like humanity is at such a dire end. Like everyone's basically wrapped in sin, and to basically appease yourself of the shit that humanity's done, you have to go out and fight.
You have to prove yourself worthy of life rather than the other way around.
You have to earn it.
It's an interesting premise.
I like it, and the name's cool as well. I like the word Freedom Wars.
Yeah,
it's doesn't really do what it says, but I like it. I just need them to port Uncharted Gold and Abyss. Come on.
Do it, please. Yeah, I want that as well because it's the only one I don't have the platinum in.
Yeah, lots of people don't. Lots of people don't even know it exists. And they call themselves Uncharted fans. But Uncharted fans, thankfully, are usually also fans of Horizon Zero Dawn. And we've covered this many times on the show, but it looks like it's safe to say that the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, it is true. It is coming. We actually thought when the Lego Horizon Adventures was announced, that might have been the rumoured Horizon game. It turns out, no. Rated this week by the ESRB ratings board, listed for PC and PS5. It does appear that Guerrilla's first foray into the Horizon franchise, way back when was it like 2017, I think, PS4 originally released. We're going to get a PS5 and PC remaster. It was on PlayStation Plus, Zero Dawn. It was removed earlier this year from the subscription, which led to our speculation that actually, we're probably going to get a remaster if they want to repackage and sell it again. We did have the Complete Edition, which included the Frozen Wilds DLC, which was really good, by the way. If you've not played it, go check it out. It's no... I guess no... I don't personally think the game needs it, but I think this is when we need to analyse it from a business standpoint. They have the upcoming TV series, and we've seen with The Last of Us, Sony make a lot of these decisions like The Last of Us Remastered. I think to get it in a new package, a new format, put it on the latest console, PS5 on the box, PS5 on the adverts. They want people to check out the TV show, go buy the game. They want people who've picked up the new console to go buy the game. Whereas there is something stinky about having a PS4 box art, and there is something stinky about it coming out 2017, but able to market it as a new title release, new package, full price point, which Sony love. I get it. It makes total sense, just like The Last of Us did. It sold an extra couple 100,000 copies because of it, maybe even millions. But it does make me think just Horizon Zero Dawn does not need remastering. It looks better than Star Wars Outlaws, which came out last month.
Yeah, it doesn't need remastering. There's definitely scope to improve, especially with the extra power of the PS5
They're always
available.
with tech.
So I'm not against it. But every time Sony do something like this, you just look at how Xbox handles similar things. If this was Microsoft, they have smart delivery. You just get the best version of that game available on the console you're using. This will almost certainly be another title which you have to go out and buy, or you could pay for the upgrade. And it just feels like I've never bought one of these upgrades because as someone who used to be a predominantly PC gamer, you buy a game and you put on the best settings that your PC can handle. And if you upgrade your PC, you can turn up the settings. So that is being conditioned into me as how games should be. And Xbox do it as well. So I don't like the way Sony handles this.
We believe in generations.
Yeah, but this is the same game.
Generations.
It's not a generational shift. This is the same game. Fundamentally. It's a slight bit of polish. They're not remaking it.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're going up and turning up the sliders and then charging you 20 quid for it.
It's one of those. It's one of those, isn't it? Where it's
there's more work to that involved, but
it's one of those arguments where it's like I feel like other places get a pass for it because if you look at Nintendo, they essentially took the whole Wii U library, ported it to Switch, slapped a £60 price tag on with no discounts ever, barely. And it's like, yeah, it's just Nintendo seal of approval quality. That's what it is.
Nintendo
It's like,
get a lot of shit for lack of backwards compatibility,
but not enough deservedly. Do you think?
No, I do think they deserve more.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The backwards and forward between business and the optics is so interesting to look at. But you're right. And back to everything we said last week about the Pro, just don't buy it. Or if you're smart,
which is why I don't.
Go out, buy a. If you have a physical disc copy of the console, this is where it really pays dividends to have a disc version. Go out, pick up a PS4 version of Horizon Zero Dawn for probably tenner, if that, nowadays. And play it and enjoy it. And it'll look gorgeous. It'll play great still because it'll have its most latest patch out the eyes on. And you won't really lose anything. But if you're that type of tech enthusiast who wants it, then yes, you'll buy it. If you want the new trophy list, yes, you'll buy it. If you're going to buy it on PC for the first time, you'll have the best sliders pushed up to the max. Yep.
Yeah, I just think this could be a goodwill thing where if they just go, you know what, if you already own the game, we'll give you an upgrade for free.
Yeah.
Especially when they're constantly putting up the price of the games and putting up the price of the DualSense. It's like they're going to sell you this stuff, and people are going to buy it. The thing is, the reason they keep doing it is because people keep buying it.
Yep. And the hubris gets bigger. Did you see last week, by the way? We don't think we covered it on the show. The original director from the Days Gone game was kicking off about Astrobot because the Astrobot cameo of Deacon St. John, from the protagonist from Days Gone, was in Astrobot's little character, and he tweeted out saying like, "Oh, how is this honouring the game when it's basically making the character shill and promote another title in Astrobot?" He totally got the wrong end of the stick of like, dude, this is celebrating the history of PlayStation.
He came across as very salty because Days Gone didn't get a sequel.
Yeah, and he seemingly left the company after the fallout of all that as well. So I think it's either a loss of a job, and he was, again, rightly so, I think, back in the day, he complained that other sequels got greenlit and other studios got to make sequels when Days Gone sold respectively well compared to others, and it didn't. And I just think he's got a rod up his back off the back of all of this, because Astrobot's great, and it's about the celebration. It's nothing about shilling for other games from using history and mascots. Like, you tell me Crash Bandicoot's in it because it's a failed franchise? No, it's because he was a PlayStation mascot, so he's there. And
Sony will have had to go to Microsoft to get that in there.
But yeah, he's got the wrong end of the stick. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is off the back of the Horizon Zero Dawn news. There's also rumours, speculation going around that actually Days Gone is also getting a PS5 remaster. It's rapidly gathering pace after interviews with John Midler and Jeff Grubb, who's usually quite good with leaks. He started tweeting saying that he's less than excited about another one. If he's angry about the Astrobot thing, he's going to lose his mind at this because, if true, another move for Sony is after a sequel being pitched, apparently Days Gone is going to get a remaster. Now, looking at the business side of things, which you always try and look at it from both two lenses, internally, the reason I saw a separate article, and I think it was Push Square actually, saying about why we get so many remasters this generation. And a big part of it is because we're early in the generation, essentially, is PlayStation put a lot of these smaller teams, newer members of staff, on remaster projects so they can get familiar with the engines and the software. So when we get all these remasters, essentially Sony trying to upskill their staffing teams and replace staff that have left. And I can kind of see where to go, right, we've got a small team of, say, 30, 40 people. They're trying to cut their teeth on the proprietary tech PlayStation use. What have we got that can not only make money, we can market something? Because, again, don't have a good run at live service games, so they have no money coming in game to game outside of just box sales. So you know what? Small team together, get them working on it, bring them up to speed, and we might get another 500,000 sales off the back of it for this easy port, effectively. And you know what? It might be them dipping the toe back in, going, were we wrong to not greenlight a Days Gone sequel? It's going to do better than Concord, I reckon, a Days Gone remaster.
Well, yeah, because Concord effectively, because they issued 100% refunds to everyone that bought it, effectively sold no copies.
Yeah, they ate money on that. Yeah. But you know what? I'm a Days Gone defender. I've got the platinum in it. I thoroughly enjoyed playing Days Gone. It was nowhere near as close to The Last of Us as everyone thought ahead of it. The motorbike mechanics, the open world, the freakers, and the mission variety, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The voice acting was fun. If you're looking for a zombie game and you don't want to play The Last of Us, or you have played The Last of Us, I would probably recommend Days Gone as like the next best thing. So, yeah, you never played it, right?
No, it just... I don't know why. I was playing other stuff at the same time.
You hate motorbikes, that's why.
That's it. That's
totally it. Yeah, it seemingly is that PlayStation. Imagine if tomorrow's rumoured state of play is just 7 remasters get announced.
I think it's worth noting as well, Sony are very aware games take longer to produce and cost a lot more money, so every single game is a higher and higher risk. As much as I was a bit critical of them with Horizon Zero Dawn being remastered, that potentially can offset the development for Horizon 3. Because, we'll go back to it. As you mentioned, we're given an opportunity to upskill our new members of the team as we're scaling up. Then these guys that get familiar with the franchise, get familiar with the engine, then go on to work on Horizon 3, and Sony have something to drop to bring in some money in the interim.
Absolutely. And that's not a bad model to have when live service isn't cutting it.
It's not. I don't fundamentally hate remasters. I think when Sony are taking games from PS4 and putting them on PS5 and then charging you full price again for the same experience with a slightly higher frame rate, I just don't think it's the values there. No. And because other providers do things in a different way, which is more consumer friendly and should be the industry standard, in my opinion.
But they're in third place. That's where the hubris comes from, isn't it? It's the reality is all things said and done. If people want to buy it full price, that's their prerogative. If they want to sell it for full price, that's their. Like, we've already played it. I've already played these. I've had my fun, and you know what? If I want to go back, I'm the idiot who can spend 50, 60 quid on a remastered package. If I want to play through it again, would I rather do that in 10 years when I've not played it for over a decade? Probably. But if it was something like, I'm the person who bought The Last of Us Part 1 remastered, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got the platinum again, and I have no regrets paying full price for that because it's one of my favourite games of all time. So it's each their own, isn't it, with these?
Yeah.
But you're completely right. Moving on then, let's round out the show with a few quick fire questions. Speaking that off the back of Sony and how long it takes to make video games, Helldivers 2 seemingly having difficulty level increases, latest buff update. I don't really want to go into the news of what this is. It's more just for me, it's like mad how it's so clear they didn't have a long-term plan for Helldivers 2. This game came out in February, took the world by storm, and here we are going into October, and all we've had is tweaks, skins for weapons, no sign of any new enemies or boss types or anything dropping into the game. No massive marketing push. Hell, the only CGI stuff trailer they've got out was the trailer they showed off for the game initially, which is also the intro to the game, where the arachnid bug comes in and he goes, and all his family get killed. And he goes, would you like to join the Helldivers? That's it. So there's been like Fortnite seasons and stuff. There's just none of that, which shows this caught them so far off guard. They've struggled to get with the live service model. And Helldivers is one game that I would have happily played more, but like most live service, it got stagnant, it got stale. I still had a thoroughly good time with it, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like it needs something fresh, and here we are, like three quarters of a year later, and nothing's really changed. And they keep saying, player numbers are coming back, and we've added this in, and we've tweaked this, and these weapons have been nerfed, these ones have been increased. They're adding a new difficulty in, and people are saying, it's great, it's fun. But I kind of wanted more from them at this point. I thought half a year later I would have been seeing like new factions, new enemy types, different cosmetics that aren't just like colour palette swaps.
Well, you have to remember because how much it took them by storm. They had a lot of work to get up to standard in the first
the servers were fucked, weren't they, the first month?
Yeah, there was a lot of work to do just to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it doesn't need more. Maybe this is just what it is. What it is.
Yeah.
You don't just because it's presented as a live service doesn't mean you have to keep adding to it. They could just go, you know what, this is the vision we have for the game. We've done it.
That's very true.
We're going to start working on Helldivers 3.
Maybe.
But there again, they could go, you know what, next year you're going to hear about plans for the first like new proper season.
Yeah. And I'll go back to it if it's anything half decent. If it's a new factions, new worlds, I'll go back. But
I feel like as a studio, they'll be trying to figure out how to monetize it because they were quite good with that. They got a lot of praise.
Yeah, I think
for how they handled the monetization.
Both me and Rob bought like I want to say £20 like deluxe boost to get like extra this and that. I can't remember what I bought for it because I was having so much fun with the game, and it was £40. I think after playing it for like 2-3 hours, I was like, you know what, they deserve the extra 20 for whatever I get because I'm having so much fun. So they did it right. Last couple of quick stories then. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor, in fact, dropped on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That seems weird to say out loud. Xbox One this past week.
One, yeah.
I was thinking it's so long and so dead ago. But the director has been going around kind of doing the interviews for it, as you do, and talking to some of the press. And they've acknowledged that Respawn, part of the Respawn Entertainment, now confirmed that they're working on the final chapter in Cal Kestis's saga story. And we kind of know it has to come to an end because, spoilers, he ain't in any of the movies or the series that take place after this time frame. So something's got to happen at some point where he either goes dark or he's just never seen again. They're in the process of making it right now, which is the first like official confirmation we've had. No surprise there. They put out a statement that said over 40 million Star Wars fans have connected with Cal and his arc of becoming a powerful Jedi. Respawn are working hard to bring you the final chapter of his thrilling story. So yeah, nothing really to add there. We'll obviously get a lot more, probably, if it's judging on the same cycle, you're probably talking 3.5 years before we hear about this, which seems about timely. And Richie, you're just wrapping up on Jedi Survivor now. I think 3 games.
I'm probably about halfway through.
3 games and done, I think, is like, it's a good resting point, I think, for a story of this magnitude.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that the committing to that. It's like, you know what, we've got one more story with this cast of characters, and then we're done.
We move on.
But that there again, I think they'll leave Cal in a situation where they could bring him back into other media if they wanted to.
Oh, I mean, Cameron Monaghan literally looks like him. So, and I've seen him on stage at like D23 wielding a lightsaber and getting in on the Comic-Con zones and stuff. Like, that guy through and through loves his job.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've been talking to Disney and Disney like, you know what, we love the characters. Some of these other characters, they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. We've got a plan for a movie or a plan for a TV show. We need you guys to get him to this point.
Yeah.
What we need to get him to the point where his journey in the games is over, and then we can use him elsewhere.
Yeah, and I would love that. And when you think about things like The Acolyte being cancelled, which I did enjoy, The Acolyte didn't get a season 2. If you took Cal with seemingly now a fan base of 40 million people have played these games, by the time the third entry comes out, upwards of probably 60 million people. You've got to imagine having that kind of dedicated fan base from a gamer standpoint, then moving over to a Disney Plus series would give it so much traction to start with. You'd almost be stupid not to try it. Like, forget doing like a random new spin-off of Star Wars. Take a known quantity in Cal, take a known time frame in that gap between Return and Empire. Sorry, not Empire, it's Order 66, isn't it? And the next one, after that. And just show me some mini adventures with him and his cast of crew, and I'd watch that totally. And if it takes off, it takes off. If it doesn't, you get a one-season wonder. But we get to see Cal transcend over to multimedia, or at least get him in the animated series, something like that. But that brings us to an end for this week's episode of the GamerGuild Podcast. And of course, we end every show by looking back at this day in video game history. We are recording on Friday the 20th of September. So looking back, let's kick things off with 38 years ago in Japan, in 1986, we've got Outrun in the arcades and the Sega Saturn. I remember Outrun. I remember having like a really cool soundtrack. I think I had it on the Sega Mega Drive, actually. Just a red car moving left to right.
I know what... I didn't know it was called Outrun, but I think I know the game.
I reckon if I played the soundtrack, you'd be like, oh yeah. You hit like palm trees and stuff with the desert scene.
I recognise the screenshots.
Yeah. Play Christopher Cross's Ride Like the Wind while you're playing it. That's good times.
You know what? It's a good day. This is
September's been a baller month. It really does. Yeah. I mean, I was born in September. All these games coming out. Let's go.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
24 years ago. How old's Tony Hawk now? if this was 24 years ago, he must be 50 plus now.
I think he's in his 50s, yeah.
He needs to go for the world record for like the oldest Indy 900 now.
He's given up. They actually did a YouTube video where he wanted to hit the 900 one more time.
Too old.
So he managed it, but it was like, because he knew he was getting old, and it's like, if I don't do it now, I'll never be able to do it again.
Damn.
So I think it'd been like 10, 15 years or something since he'd last done it.
Yeah.
So he nailed it and went, right, that's it.
I'm out.
I'm never going to try that trick again.
I love it. And now he's just going to make gaming deals constantly to get his name and brand out there. Dynasty Warriors 3, 23 years ago in 2001. Great game. Epic introduction as well. 20 years ago in 2004, Star Wars Battlefront, the OG on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Love that game.
Warhammer 40k Dawn of War. That's a game.
Oh, that was like the RTS game, right?
Yeah.
I had that. I've just like unlocked a memory that I forgot I had. I love that game. Like the cover art, I'm looking at the cover art now. Yeah, 2004. Prepare yourself for a grim dark future, the 41st millennium, alien races, battle mankind. Yeah, it was between like Command and Conquer, Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, Warhammer Dawn of War. Man. Is that on Game Pass or anything? I don't have a copy. Interesting. I'm going to go look on Steam right now. I know what I might be playing this weekend, amongst all the other aforementioned things. Shout out to Gears of War 3, 13 years ago. And more recently, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Was the remaster, right? Was that the remaster?
Yeah,
one?
That's the Switch one, yeah.
5 years ago.
A shout out to Torchlight 2 as well. Torchlight's awesome.
Torchlight. I like it. Yeah, September. Shut up good. Just having a final look. Second Sight, GameCube and PS2. Love Second Sight. Free Radical. They're the time splitters, guys. What they did after time splitters. Right, Richie, that brings us to an end of the show. Apologies again to anyone who tuned in at the beginning thinking, where the heck's the video? Apparently after 5 years is the first time we almost lost the show. We'd, of course, still re-record and stuff, but we had our audio in the bag, so thanks for sticking with us, audio viewers. In fact, audio listeners, you had a perfect podcast anyway. Don't forget, Saturday the 28th, tune in, join us. Honour, respect, enjoy our 5 years of content creation. We're on our road to 2,000 subs as well. So comment below, share with your friends, like, all that jazz to help out with the algorithm. Let's hit that big 2K. We'd love to see it happen. But yeah, see you guys on the 28th for a live show, which we will have a video feed because you'll be able to tell us in the chat if it's all going wrong. Get in the Discord, like, share, all that jazz. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been the Gamer Guild Podcast. Thank you very much for watching, folks. And remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.